Hey guys, it's Jake here with eTrailer. Today we have a 2019 Chrysler Pacifica, and we're going to be walking you through and showing you how to install the Curt 4-pole wiring harness. Installing a 4-pole wiring harness is going to allow you to connect to a trailer to signal other motorists what your intentions are when you're pulling a trailer. This wiring harness is going to connect directly into the back of your factory taillights on your Pacifica, and it's going to have a converter box on it that's designed to protect the vehicle from any backfeed that might come from your trailer. So if you have a short or something on your trailer, it's not going to affect your vehicle's lights from functioning. A nice part about this kit is you're not going to have to tap into any of your vehicle's wiring. It's going to be a T connection in each of the taillights. I will say for the installation, it is kind of difficult to get those up in place, but we will show you some techniques on how to do that. Now, as far as the installation goes, there will have to be one power wire that runs from the rear bumper up to the battery of the vehicle. The way that we ran it, we'll show you in the video, but it will stay along the driver's side of the vehicle. You should be able to do this from the ground at your house with no problems. With that being said, let's go ahead and take it inside and show you how we did it. To begin our installation, we need to start by removing our taillights from the rear of our vehicle. There's going to be two T30 Torx bits screws that are going to be holding them in. We need to take those out. We'll grab our taillight and pull outward until it unclips. Then we need to take our plug, pull this red tab back, there we go. We'll do that same thing on the passenger side. We'll take a fish wire. We're using some airline tube. You can also use tie a nut to a piece of string and drop it down. We just want to see it come out the bottom. Now we found out that our airline tubing that we were trying to run down through here, it's pretty tight, so it just kept coiling up. So what we did was you took a piece of scrap wire, you can also use string, like we said before, and tie a nut to the end of it, drop it down, and just wiggle it around until it works its way down. Now with this down here and exposed, we can take off these fasteners that are holding our this splash guard in place, so we can run our green wire across and over to our passenger side. This is going to be an 8mm socket to get these removed. Now we can take our green wire. We're just going to loosely run it above this carpeted splash guard we just pulled down. We'll set our converter box, just tuck it under there, because we're going to need to be about this close to be able to run our yellow wire up to our passenger or our driver side taillight. And then on this side, we might have enough, we should have enough space to be able to run it up and into that pocket. So now we taped off this end because, again, we're going up through a pretty small area. So we folded the one end back, taped it all up so it's a little bit more streamlined when we're running it through. So we found when trying to pull this up through this cavity, there's one of two things you can do. You can either cut this wire, run it up without the connectors on it, and then splice it back together, or you can do what we did and take a few connectors out of the wheel well. It's going to be, I think, 3 bolts, and then there's going to be one here holding it to the side panel of your van. And then all you have to do is pop these out. There's just a bunch of push pin fasteners that it'll allow you to get some more room, open up this cavity, see what's going on back there, and get your wire pulled through. But with it pulled out, we can make our first connection is going to be back to the vehicle, and then we'll need to grab our taillight and make our other connection. And you can't connect these the wrong way. They will only go the one way. Just make sure you grab that lock on the one. And now, with it all connected, we can slide everything back down into this cavity. With everything buttoned back up and our connection made, we need to take this harness here. And pretty much the only place it's going to fit that we found out is going to be tucked in behind the light right there. And we'll hold it while we're getting the light close. And once you got it close, it should be able to just pop right back in. Anywhere else behind that taillight, that harness is not going to fit. So you got to put it in that spot, and then we can put our bolts back in place. We ended up having to repeat the same process on the driver's side. It just makes it a lot easier. If you pop this loose, you can get your arm behind there and kind of guide the wires up through the cavity. So we'll go ahead and make our connections to our taillight and get our taillight back in place. Now, to get our converter box in place, we'll take this sticky tape that comes in your kit. We stuck it to the back of the converter box. We're going to peel off the other side, and we're just going to stick it to the top of our hitch receiver tube. Stick it there, and then just to be safe, we're also going to run a commercial zip tie around it to make sure it doesn't go anywhere. Cinch that down nice and tight, and we'll trim this extra off. For our ground, typically we could take it and self-tap it somewhere into the frame, but since our spare tire is in that compartment, we don't want to self-tap into that, and we have a factory ground right here. So we'll take this off. Just loosen it up, and then we'll put our ground wire on it. Take it over. We're going to zip tie all these wires up nice and neat once we get everything run. The last of our wiring connections we need to make is going to be our power wire. Now, you'll have some butt connectors that come in your kit. You just need to put one end on the big spool of wire that you get also in your kit, connect it to the black wire on the converter box, and then we're going to take this power wire, run it up to the battery, and then we'll come back and show you how we did it. So the way we ran our wiring is we started back here. You can't really see it because we have the appearance panel back in place, but we ran it up and over our suspension components, ran it over the body mount, and we followed factory wiring all along this panel. We took this panel down, it's right here, dropped this panel, ran it up underneath there, and then up into our hood. You just want to make sure you stay away from anything hot or moving. Up here in our engine bay, you can see where we pulled our wire out. We just ran it down with some airline tube and then pulled it up into the engine bay. So we're going to need to attach to our positive post of our battery. So we'll pull this air intake up. Doesn't have any fasteners. You just have to pull it, set it out of the way. And then under our battery cover, you'll see there's a post here. It's actually threaded on. We'll take a 10mm socket and unthread it, which will reveal a stud. And then we'll kind of loosely run our wire behind so we can make a nice, neat connection. We're not going to need that much because we will have a fuse connector. So we'll run it about there. And our fuse connector is going to give us about 10 inches of space, so that'll make up the rest of that space. Take our black wire, strip it back, and then in your kit you'll get another butt connector. You'll want to put it on the end of our fuse connector and then put the ring terminal on the other side. Slide these together. When you're making these connections, be sure to not have your fuse in. It could cause some issues. You could blow the fuse, and chances are you probably don't have another one of those laying around the house. We'll make that connection. Then we'll come around the back side here, run our wires down there, and then slide on our ring terminal. We'll take that stud and put it back on. And we'll tighten it back up. Now, with all of our connections made, we can take our fuse and insert it. With everything connected properly, we can go ahead and test out our wiring. We'll start with our running lights, brake lights, our left turn, and right turn. After you tested out your wiring and make sure everything's working properly, that's going to do it for our installation.